Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 234. C10 Talk, episode 234. Deboss Garage. YouTube sensation. The YouTube sensation. The YouTube sensation. They build a lot of awesome stuff. They build a lot of rad stuff, but we're talking to them about their Squarebody Tank, the Shermanator. Here we go. Damn, son. C10 Talk, episode 234. 234. We've got Deboss Garage, the YouTube sensation. They build a lot of rad stuff, but we're going to talk to them about their Squarebody Tank, the Sherminator. Hold on. Here we go.
We figure we'll have some fun with it. We'll work our way up horsepower-wise and speed-wise. We might not get there right away. We're going to have some fun with the tank before we blow the tracks off of it and then end up having to pay 60, 70 grand for a decent set of tracks to keep it moving type of thing, right?
Damn, son. Hey guys, one of the biggest upgrades I was able to make on Orange Slice is my lighting. Think about this. You've got your old school sealed yellow lights. You put in new United Pacific headlights, boom, quadruple the lightage. They look better, they perform better, and guess what? They're safer. So you've got LED options, you've got new headlight options, they look great. And honestly, we upgrade so many things with our trucks, why not upgrade the lighting? When you do, think United Pacific. Go to upcarparts.com. That's right, upcarparts.com. I don't think you'll forget it. Save today. Thanks, guys. Give them a follow on social media, too. Facebook and Instagram.
Let me tell you what Melba's Post is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth flapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What's up? What's up, my brothers and sisters? Busy week, reunion week for us over here, but I wanted to get a pod out. I had recorded with Deboss Garage. We've got Rich, a.k.a. Filthy Rich, and then we've got Aaron, in this case, Aaron the editor. I don't know if that's his name, but we're giving it to him right now, a.k.a. Aaron the editor. So these guys run a kick-ass, very successful, fun YouTube channel, Deboss Garage, D-E-B-O-S-S, Deboss Garage. And they are the team, the tandem, the group, the crew behind the Sherminator. Huge square body crew cab long bed that's sitting on a tank, in theory, kind of rollers. So reached out to them and said, hey, man, I'd love to get you on the pod. And they were like, let's do it. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. How about 233? You got Umberto behind the mic hosting, which was a big help for us because it gave me a break. And honestly, I love it. I love that he's on site with Joel from Overkill Racing and David from Engelbros Fab and just talking trucks and talking about stuff that they're doing. And most importantly, these two need to get together. It's funny that Deboss and Overkill, because they like really cool out-of-the-box type stuff, namely for the Overkill guys, and I don't know if they have a name for it, but 6 doors, more horrors type deal where it's a C60 6-door, 10-wheel, 10-tire Duramax truck that's like on 30s. So, yeah, it's crazy. So, again, a C60, think of like a 68, big grain truck, 6 doors, long bed, tandem dually, 10 wheels, 10 tires, on 30s, Duramax, Tim Allen right there, freaking How awesome. So check that one out, 233 jumping back. All right, reunion week for us. Hopefully the fellas out at C10's in the city had a great show. It looked like they did. We are coming up on our first inaugural reunion truck show. Myself, Samron Productions, and then honestly, my wife is doing just an amazing job. We are, it's kicking butt. It really is. So thank you for all the listeners who are able to make it out, support the show. I think we're going to have a good week. Weather's a little hot. I was afraid of that, but nice thing about being in a parking garage, or most of it in the parking garage, we got a lot of shade. So that's one thing that we've got working in our favor for this weekend. But Friday, you've got the golf guys, Poised Hipster himself, long drives and dope rides. So if you're coming into town and you're a golfer and you want to head out there, get with him. That's going to be Poised Hipster and or long drives, dope rides. That's Friday. And then Friday night, we will probably have something downtown. So where the host hotel is for us, it's all in a really kind of tight little area where the show is, where the parking garage is, where the host hotel is, and where probably about 20 to 25 different bar restaurants are. All very, very close proximity, walking distance. So we've got over 350 trucks. We kind of capped it at 350. But we've had a few people kind of sneak in, and then we're going to have vendor trucks and stuff like that. So it is going to be a jam-packed show. We're looking forward to it. 34 vendors. And just a really good time. 7 a.m. is our load-in. So what that means is I know guys will probably be getting in line to get into the garage or into the grass, wherever the kind of parking is going to be. But we're going to, hold things tight until 7, and then 7 we'll be ready to rock and roll and load up the garage and the grass. Show goes from 8 to 5 type deal. One thing that we do have that's really cool, I'm going to go pick them up here today, is I was able to get some old trophies. So I just thought, we see all these cool trophies and I love them. The billet trophies, the spare parts trophies from spark plugs and flux capacitors and all this stuff that, people have laying around, and they make some amazing trophies. But I'm like, man, it kind of fits our show. So I was able to get a hold of some old, I've got some that are, I think, pre-60s, 60s, 70s. I think there's an 80s in there, some 90s. So I wanted to kind of be 90s and older. Obviously, that's kind of the theme, the mantra of our show, the reunion truck show. It's the class reunion of all the guys you want to see and girls. And then the family reunion with the family that you like. So we're bringing it together all in one big day, April 9th, this weekend, this Saturday, for the inaugural reunion. Will I have time to do a pod? I am going to try. Of course, I'm going to try. I love bringing the story and the story behind the people and the builds, and then capturing that and then taking it out to you or bringing it to you. So if I can, I will. It just depends on how many fires I'm putting out. Perfect world, I'd love to do an OBS and a C10, but we will see. Now, remember, this show is open. We are welcoming and inviting Fords, Dodges, Minis. So I do hope we get a handful of them. I'm going to say there's 50 other non-GM, Chevy, GMC trucks. But at the end of the day, that's pretty good, and I'll be happy with that. So we want to let the people know that they're welcome as well. That's it, man. So I'll try to do a pod and get that out to you guys if I can. If I can't, obviously check it out on social, reunion. So it's _reunion, and the I and the O is a 10. So that's our Instagram there, putting out updates. You can also get on our mailing list for future shows, info@Reunion Truck Show, or just go online to reuniontruckshow.com. That's reuniontruckshow.com. Other than that, let's get into episode 234 with Rich and Aaron and find out what the hell they were thinking when they bought a Squarebody tank and what their plans are. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for the support. Have a great week, guys. Late. All right. What is up, C10 Nation? How about a little Aaron and Filthy Rich from Deboss Garage, build, swap, and repair. Love watching these guys' channel. We're kind of on a roll with this YouTube stuff. So I thought, hey, these guys, we're going to get into the Shermanator. what Squarebody craziness. Who in the hell has the balls to do this? Obviously Filthy Rich and the team. So you guys, welcome. I've got Rich to my left and I've got Aaron to my right. Thanks for taking time to be on C10 Talk.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us, man.
Okay, so I guess we'll start off with Rich. Who's Rich?
Yeah, right here. I'm a mechanic. Started out apprenticeship about when I was 16, and then walked into an apprenticeship for heavy equipment. So I was actually doing off-road tractors, combines, agricultural equipment for the most part. And I got my license, and then I was smart enough, so I bought a chunk of property when I was young. I wanted to build my own house and shop, so I quit, started a construction company, did that for about 7 years, and then kind of went back into mechanics, and then that led into meeting Aaron and starting a YouTube channel. So.
Okay, now, and you guys are based out of not too far, you're in Canada for the audience if you haven't been able to tell, but then just north of Buffalo, where are you guys at?
West of Buffalo. We're like 40 minutes from Niagara Falls. Yeah. So right on Lake Erie. So we got Lake Erie underneath us and Lake Ontario to the north of us. Yeah.
Hey, you're practically Americans.
Yep. We're people like we go to Michigan. Like we've gone to roadkill nights a couple times. Like, you guys are from Canada? They're like, the border's like 2 hours that way, right? It's not this exotic place. We're pretty close.
The only thing is, and I really don't want to derail the tank, pun on words, is it does. I have a really good friend that I've met through the community, and he lives in Calgary, and I've been up there. We visit him. It seems a little different the last few years. Some of the things that he's working through, obviously getting down to the States and going through some of that. So, okay, I digress. Aaron, who's Aaron?
Yeah, well, I'm actually a video editor by trade. I've been doing this for a number of years, and I guess 7 years ago is when I met Rich, and it was around the time that I was working for a company that went belly up and I was out of work, so I started helping him around his shop and figuring out what he was doing. I thought YouTube looks really good on a resume, maybe I'll learn how to do some of that, and saw what he was doing. He was in the middle of doing a Cummins swap, so I had no idea what the heck that was. So I said, well, why don't I just start making videos of what you're doing and turn that into like a how-to channel and see how that goes. And yeah, my idea was this might look cool on my next resume.
Yeah, it does look cool on your next resume. I mean, you haven't had to use it yet, right?
Yeah, I haven't used it. Yeah.
I hope we never have to either. We'll see where this YouTube thing ends up. But yeah.
So, Aaron, would you say, or do you feel like you were mechanically inclined, or were you like, I have no idea what the hell's going on here? So to me, that even is more so from the guy behind the lens. You're like, dude, half the audience isn't going to know this or whatever. So let's explain it this way.
Yeah. No, I'm not mechanically inclined at all. I mean, I have some farm background growing up, but as far as mechanics and stuff like that, I learned how to change an oil pan in auto class, and that was about it. And I think that was definitely my philosophy as far as making videos on this stuff. Is I felt like I need to understand what I'm making and what I'm doing and what these videos are trying to communicate. Because if I can understand it, anybody can do it. Understand what we're doing, and that's just, I think, really helped us communicate everything from what we're doing, why, and how it's all going together.
Yeah, and
now my boy's walking in the shop going, oh, you got another P pump. That's awesome. The P7100. So what year is that? 98, 99, 2000? So,
now you know what you're like, I got this. I mean, are you surprised at your growth with that?
I can probably say I know more than what most people who call themselves car guys might know.
It's more, right? I mean, we go to AutoZone, we got to tell them a lot of, you're like, does it really matter if it's 4-wheel drive? Yeah,
exactly.
It doesn't really matter. I feel bad for some of these kids. They're like, don't yell at me, sir. I'm just reading what the computer asked me to ask you. It won't let me go to the next page. I feel like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you probably thought that might be a weakness that you had but it ends up being a positive thing because that will help Rich. And then the bond between the two of you is like, all right, let's shoot that again, because I don't know that I got the right angle, or, you explain that as well.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
watching some of the videos, dude, he can get pretty down the road on some of this stuff. And you're like, all right, reel it back, Rich, reel it back in.
I'll still get some terms went wrong once in a while, and comments will surely let me know if I spelled something wrong or, got the wrong part named.
Yeah, I got the wrong picture with the wrong engine, or the wrong part with the wrong description. Like, that's not right. Just look easy, guys. It's okay.
Right. The internet is undefeated, right? You get
yeah.
Just like, oh, these guys are the worst channel ever. You're like, hey, listen, we're doing the best we can. So work with us. What would you say is the biggest difference from, starting to where you are now over that journey?
Well, there's a number of differences. I think the length of our videos is number one. We started making everywhere from 1 minute videos to 10 minutes was kind of the sweet spot. Now, honestly, I think half an hour videos, 40 minutes is pretty average. So I think just the longer watch time really, that's what YouTube loves. That's what people want to watch for the most part. And you can get a lot of info in there, and it's not necessarily topical. We can kind of make things a little more about the build progression and have a bit of a beginning and middle and end. I think that was our main evolution.
So we used to do a lot more how-tos, and the average person can swap a Cummins into anything. It's nothing to make it run. They're just like, make your engine mounts, keep it cold, and you got an engine in there, right? So we got a lot of questions. Hey, can you show me how to put a Cummins into a Squarebody? Can you show me how to put a Cummins into a K-car? Can you show me how to put a Cummins into whatever? I'm like, yes, make the engine mounts, give it fuel, hook up this one wire, and you've got a Cummins swap. And they're fantastic for that, right? So now, if you wanted information, probably 5 years ago, it was easier to find because it was very specific to that. But like, we're doing the Caterpillar swap in the F350, and we're so deep into that that nobody in their right mind would attempt to do what we're doing. So it's not so much the technical, you have to hook up this wire and you have to do this and you have to move this over here and do that. Like, I cut the firewall out of a 2010 and welded it in the 93. Nobody's searching for how to do that. How do I weld that, right? So it becomes informative, and I think we've gone from the very, very, it's still educational and informative, but we're switching more to get into the motivational side of it, because there's some pretty crazy swaps that we've seen traveling the country, traveling through the states and stuff. We try to encourage our viewers to plot them on our website, so we know where our viewers' builds are, and then we like to go and visit them. And there's some really talented people everywhere, and it's not so much about like, this is exactly how you do it, but it's more motivational to, like, get out in your garage, couple hours a week, an hour a night or whatever, and finish that project, because it's super cool. And like, once you get over that hump of like being able to process how much work you have left and seeing the finish line, we're trying to get you guys out there to finish it and work on it, because it's awesome, right? It's a shame having it bothered me way back when everybody buys their dream project. I got a buddy with a fastback Mustang that's been sitting in his garage for 20 years, tore it all apart, lost half the pieces, didn't have a welder, didn't have proper space and whatever, moves out, gets married, and it's just either collecting dust, or mama finally says, you know what, I've had enough. Off to the scrapyard it goes, and then it gets crushed. Like, that's a shame. But you know what, if mama sees her boy out there working on it and making memories and making, with friends, even if they're chugging some beers or whatever, enjoying it and doing something in the right direction with it, then that's what we want to see.
Well, and it's good for all of us when that happens. And I feel like we talk about this a lot on the podcast, is you don't want to see that. And then I feel like people not only the husband and or the wife or the whoever, whatever the relationship is with the vehicle that's getting built is or not getting built, is then there starts to be like animosity. It's like that thing's been in the garage taking up my spot for 10 years. And then you feel the pressure because you might be getting in trouble because it's in there. And then, and you're just like, all right, I'm just going to sell it. And then you almost hate what at one day was, Rich even said this is one of the best days of my life when he buys this tank, right? So I can't, I want to see if he still feels that way, but absolutely. So how do you guys find that motivation? Is it motivating to be motivating?
So people think that I go out there, and so I enjoy my project. So we've been able to transition from working on customers' vehicles that I'm not 100% into because I would build different than what their imagination or their budget allows, to being able to build what we want, what I want, right? So YouTube's able to finance the parts. We've got lots of partners and stuff that are able to help us out and keep the lights on, pay the bills, and build what we want. So I'm excited to work on each project, but doesn't mean that I'm motivated every day to just run out there and just keep working on it. There's days where I drag my feet in the shop just like everybody else, but it's that moment where you can either go back in and lay on the couch and watch Netflix or do whatever, scroll on your phone for 3 hours, or you just put your big boy pants on and just do something. And as soon as you go and get into the groove of it again, that's maybe what separates me. I don't know. We do have a lot of projects on the go too. So if I really run into a wall on something, I'm able to switch gears and go on another project until I mentally figure out what to overcome, or just whatever I need to do to, like a lot of issues where I run into it. I'll come up with a solution out of the blue and then get motivated to work on it again, right? And kind of bounce around. COVID's really messed up supply chains and stuff too. So the last couple of years, that's why we have multiple projects, is because then if I run into something where I need parts, then I can get a list, do a bunch of ordering, and then work on something else. And as the parts filter in, I can go back on it again. And sometimes that's what I need too, just to walk away for a week and then go back on it again. But doesn't mean that I'm super motivated to, like the firewall in the F350. I know that that's going to take me a whole week, and it's not great work, and it's frustrating, and I'm more than likely going to cut my hand open because there's sharp edges and stuff, and I know that. So I really have to be in the right mindset to be able to do that. But luckily I have enough stuff on the go that I can do something else, still be productive, and then come back to it when the time's right. Yeah.
Would you say that you talked about how you used to do a lot more how-to, how much funner it is now? Because you're like, well, we're not necessarily doing the how-to, and you think about the motivation. Beginning, you're motivated. We start this new channel. I got Aaron. I got this relationship. We're doing how-tos. Critical people get critical of how-tos. And now you're like, now we're just going to have fun. We're going to build the stuff we want to build. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be entertaining. We're going to do, burnouts. I mean, I kind of, the gas monkey world where you're like, this guy just built a true Hot Wheels car. Nobody needs to build that. I mean, it goes back to before we went on air for the audience, I was talking about building Frito-Lay, my 1971 Slam tow truck, and I wanted to build it, but it just didn't happen. But I could see where that for you guys is a lot more fun, entertaining. Your mind's just, I got to think all your minds are just, you're going to bed at night and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? The Ford firewall. What am I going to do? The Sherminator. What am I going to do this? You're like, I can't even sleep because your mind's going a lot faster versus, oh, we're going to do a how-to on a pea pump tomorrow.
how to clean your engine bay, how to change your tires.
Yeah. Kind of a long-winded question, but is that a lot of fun? Does that keep you going? Does that keep that viv and vigor going?
Yeah, it does. It just, yeah, that's basically it.
Honestly, we still do the how-tos, but nowadays, a how-to for us is like finding a guy that does this extremely specialized thing, like rebuilding a, 3406 pump or something, and it's a black magic art. No one knows anything about that. You can't find how-to videos on that. So we'll do like a full in-depth half-hour session with him and just everything he's doing. And they love it because it's more business for them. And we get to, add our style to it and show how that all happens. And we still get a kick-ass how-to out of it. But it might not be something that someone's searching for necessarily, but
I love that part though, because then you capture it on video where, like you said, it's a unicorn. It's something that is such a black magic thing, Artie down the way can do this. Well, that could be something that just gets translated through the next generation. And now they can find it. That's a great thing about not only podcasts, but social media and YouTube. And the only problem becomes, now I think 5 years ago, you were looking for content. You're looking how to swap out a 12 valve. Now you're like, what page should I watch out of the 86 pages on how to swap out a 12 valve? So it is that balance that we're so fortunate. We have so much content.
Yeah. So me I've been out of schooling trade for almost 20 years. Now about 15 years. So me not being educated on the newest stuff that comes out, like somebody who works for GM will go to school every couple of years or every year just to be updated on the latest stuff, right? And they become experts in that field. And somebody who works on transport trucks gets updated in the latest emission shit and the latest engine mods and the newest brake system and ABS. I don't get any of that unless I pay to go to school somewhere. Even then, they don't tell you everything, and we don't seem to find the time. So I'm not an expert anymore. And I find when you make a specific how-to video, there are experts that are watching that do that one specific thing all day, every day. And then it sucks when you do get something wrong, because I don't want to mislead people either, saying that, you know what, we're a more technically advanced channel. And I'm telling you specifically how to do something, but I get it wrong because I'm not up to date on the latest thing or the latest tools or whatever. And we constantly get told, oh, there's a tool for that, and there's a shop for that, and there's a place for this and whatever. And we're not those people anymore. We're just make it work with whatever's in the shop and be educational that way. But when we do bring in the outside people, we got a transmission rebuilder who's really good. He's rebuilding the transmission for us. He's okay with us hovering over him with a camera, and he is the expert in his field, where people rarely have a comment. Our engine builder, Northtown Machine, there was funny. He was decking the block to the P pump, the compound P pump that I'm building, and he said, what I really make sure is when I deck the block, I make sure it's square to the crankshaft. So you can have a perfectly flat surface where you bolt your head to, but if it's crooked to the crankshaft, the cylinder in the front gets more compression than the cylinder in the back, or vice versa, right? So he goes, this one was actually pretty good. I only had to shim it up with one piece of paper in the front. And one of the comments was, I can't believe he used line paper and not sticky note yellow paper, because that is a much more consistent thickness of paper than line paper is. I'm like, okay, you've got, you've made it when that is the worst. That's the worst comment that you can make, right?
So, audience didn't even find, like, I can't believe, was that perforated at the edge? Because
Yeah.
I could see some leakage in there now, so yeah, I could see where that would be good for you guys. I think too, for when you go back and you think about some of the specialty, that's like a generational thing. Whereas you guys in the channel, it reminds me of like more of what would be my dad's generation, where everything was, there was one shop and there was a lot of Fitfo. If you guys don't know what Fitfo is, that's figure it the fuck out. So there isn't a tool for everything, right? There's like now it's like, well, you go to Marty for this, you go to Todd for this, you go to Rich for this, because they're the ones who can expense the tools that it costs to be that specific. Whereas in the old days, and what you guys are doing, working on old stuff, especially the heavy equipment, it's like, nah, you just figure it out. And we're using crescent wrenches and, duct tape and baling wire and, JB weld or whatever. We all kind of grew up that way, but there was a lot of that before people are like, hey, we can really specialize. And so I think even though you say, hey, we're not the master of the trade, I'm really the jack of all, right?
Yeah. So and
you can't buy every specialty tool.
No, especially when you only use it once, right? So we bought an 87 K100 Kenworth cab over to pull the tank around, and the neighbor had a T800 frame for it. So it's a more modern frame. It's a different truck frame, but he knocked the front axle off of it and the cab off it when I went in the ditch, and we made a deal. I bought that, got that, and I had to transfer all the bolt holes from my cab over to the front of his frame. So these are big holes. These are M18, M20 holes. So what I did was I cut the frame off, cut the top notches off, and just basically just tacked it to the new frame, and then drilled through the frame to get all the holes lined up perfectly. Otherwise, the alignment's right out. So to find the center of the hole, because I needed a pilot hole, I just stuck a socket that fit tight in the hole, and then the center, like a 1/4-inch socket, and then the little square in the middle would center the drill bit. And lots of comments, oh, they make drift punches for that, Rich. And I'm like, okay, well, show me the cheapest M18 drift punch that you can find. And like, oh yeah, that's like $280 US. So for Canada, it's like $400. This is the only time I ever plan on doing this. And even if I do it again, it's not going to be in the next few years. I'm not going to order something that's $400 when I can just use a socket. And yeah, it's not as convenient, probably won't be as quick, but it will definitely be cheaper than $400 drift punch that will then take up space in my shop and just collect dust, right? So that's the entertainment aspect of it again, where it's like, I never thought about that, but I'm going to be able to, like, the average viewer is going to be like, I'm going to use that for this next time, and that's a good idea, and it gets their head rolling. And then, yeah, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on the Snap-on truck just to be able to do every job, right? And that's the fun part. That's the motivational part, and finding out little tricks and tips and stuff. Like, nobody taught me that. It's just using your brain and seeing what's available to you and making the best of what you got.
Yeah, it's how to think outside the box and solve the problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's beyond just some kind of topical how-to video on YouTube. You're gonna apply that knowledge on your whole build.
Yeah.
Well, really, in your life, right? I mean, that's one thing that I do think that younger generations, for me in the fire service, seeing young men come in, they have such a thirst for knowledge. They want to be like their dad or their grandpa or somebody that we probably take for granted that we were around that type of stuff, where they're like, no, go figure it out. And you just did what you did, and you were out in the yard figuring things out or what. And some people were mechanical, some people weren't. Some people figured it out. Some people have that ability to figure it out. So it is a cool thing when you see that, and it's empowering to know, like, there's people watching your channel that situational, thought process for them is like, hey, I can work through this. And the other thing too, again, I have a 20-year-old son who can figure just about anything out. And then I have a nephew who doesn't, but I always kind of tell him, like, you do realize you have YouTube and Google and everything else that at least that will get the wheels turning. You know what I mean? So all right, soapbox. Let's jump into this. Talk about figuring things out. I mean, just crazy. So for the audience, I'm going to just say 78, 79 GMC Crew Cab Sierra tank, the Shermanator. What were you thinking? Oh my God, I love it so much, but I'm glad that it's yours and not mine. Hey guys, I have Andrew from Painless on. Andrew, our guys are thinking about rewiring their truck. Why should they choose Painless Performance?
Well, Ronnie, we've been doing it 30 years now. We're American made, American proud. We have unmatched tech support. You'll get one of our guys right here in Fort Worth, Texas, if you have a call. And, our installation manual is full color and covers everything you need to know.
There you go, guys. You get rid of that 40-plus-year-old wiring. You get easy-to-read printed wiring. Painlessperformance.com. They've got you covered if you want to go OG Classic or if you want to go something customized. Thanks, Andrew. Painlessperformance.com. Hey, guys. Are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT-based power plant? We've got great news for you. PSI Conversion is offering our listeners 10% off your order. Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. And don't forget, use code C10 Talk and save 10% today. You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them. Don't forget the interior of your build. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. Whether you want a direct fit into the stock bezel or something custom. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. The new RTX series is really incredible. I think it stands for retro, but it should stand for rad. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. You can change the lighting colors, customize the reading in the message centers, and do it all from the mobile app. That's right, the HDX and RTX series have Bluetooth technology, so you can mess with them from your phone. Just don't do it while you're driving. I mean, literally, I can have Yellowstone. I'm looking at RPM, trip odometer, percent fuel, oil pressure, and now I have the GPS set up. I can tell you direction, elevation, and even outside temp. Damn, son, it's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com. And you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook too. Oh my God, I love it so much, but I'm glad that it's yours and not mine.
So it's funny because we got the attention of Shell Oil on
Rotella,
the Rotella oil, and they said we need a video, and none of my stuff was ready to fire up. I guess they were running a program with influencers, and it was going well, but the program was already running. So Shell told the media company to hurry up and get some more people, but they need a video in like 2 weeks. So then we were like, I got nothing. So we just hop on Facebook Marketplace, and there was an old GMC Astra cab over for sale just on the other side of town. So we go over, we buy it, had a 2-stroke Detroit V8 in it, 8V92 in it. So we make this proper video of changing the oil, and they wanted us specifically to use T4, T5, or T6. So we put 1540 in it. We got it running, and it sounded horrible. The guy that we bought it off of never heard it run. He bought it from somebody else, was going to fix it, never decided to do anything with it, right? So then we post the video, and every one of the comments was, you put the wrong oil in it, you put the wrong oil in it, 2-stroke oil takes, 2-stroke diesels take straight 30 or 40 weight, not 1540. So we posted the video, but when we got it running, I told Aaron to go home, and I'm like, we only bought this thing, honestly, to do the video. I knew the truck was rough. It would never see the road again. So we were hoping to do a tractor pull with it, get it running, take it to a fair in the fall, hook it up to the sled, give it balls to the walls, hopefully blow the V8 to pieces, and then say, you know what, it's rotten, it's rough, it's time for the scrapyard. Unfortunately, we fired it up again, and it blew the engine, it windowed the block. So
no one knows this.
Nobody knows this. So this is just for you and your audience.
Which is great. Shell Oil is like, we want influencers to use our oil, or Rotel, which is one of the same. And you're like, shit, that didn't work. I thought it was working.
So they approved the video, right? We sent the video ahead of them in the first place, right? So then we call our media guy. We're like, Shell, you told us to use this oil. The entire audience said it was the wrong oil. And then we destroyed the engine within like 4 minutes. What should we do? And they're like, well, you should always use the recommended oil from the manufacturer. We're like, thanks, guys. So
it was the attorneys talking.
Yeah.
Not the social media platform.
Yeah. So it was all good. We made the video. We said the truck's not worth fixing, but the video did extremely well. So we're like, well, this cab over thing might be a thing.
We figured that's definitely what's missing on our channel is a semi-truck cab over build. Like, we need to do it.
Yeah. So
we need another one at this point.
Yeah. So at the end of the video, we say, if anybody's got a cab over, like, send us an email. We're interested in buying it, right? So it was about 3 weeks, a guy emails us and goes, I have the exact same cab over. So he goes, don't scrap yours yet, because with the two of them, you can make one great truck. We already crushed it. It was already gone. But he goes, but my uncle, he's a businessman. He also has some cool stuff. If you guys are interested in this, we showed us a picture of the tank truck. We're both looking at it. We're like, yeah, like,
on the way over to see it, I'm like, you realize we're buying this. We're not leaving without this.
Yeah. So we bought it instantly. It's just one of these, it's too cool to pass up. So what happened was, it's on Sherman tank undercarriage parts, but it was never a tank. So it was made by a company called Medill, we think, as best as we know, out in British Columbia, other end of Canada, so about 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, after the war.
Yeah, so it was in a program called Swords
to Plowshares.
Yeah, Swords to Plowshares, where you take old military equipment and turn it into agricultural.
Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah. So it has a longer hull than a Sherman, and the hull itself is not armored. So it's just C-channel, 1/2-inch thick. It's like, it's a good 2 feet high, but it's massive, but it's not armored. So the transmission is armored, the whole front part is armored, the road wheels and everything are from a Sherman, but it would have had a winch on it pulling logs up a mountain in the forestry industry for who knows how many decades.
And I think you said it was like built in after the war. So like, are we taking like 46, 47 when?
Yep, somewhere around then.
So it
had a 471 Detroit powered with a manual truck transmission and a drive shaft powering the tank transmission. So essentially 2 transmissions hooked up to each other, but very underpowered. So the tank has 5 speeds, but I doubt that thing has ever been in other than first and second gear. So I think probably 15, 20 years ago, somebody had a couple cases of beer and the winches were all gone, probably found it somewhere and said, you know what, he was pulling muck out of swamps and selling that to nurseries, so it was really high in nutrients or whatever for potting soil.
So when you say a winch, I think of like growing up with like a Tonka. Are you talking like a huge cable that goes up and hooks? And so they were picking up trees, they're knocking them down, they're cabling them, picking them up. So a crane winch.
Yeah.
Okay, so those winches, they're gone. Now somebody's got the base, and then back to the beer and the mug.
So they got this contract.
What is going on here?
I'm sure he got the contract for X amount of years to supply these nurseries with soil. So he had a transport truck trailer with a massive winch on it again, and he would use this Sherman undercarriage to drag a bucket into the swamp, and then the winch would pull the bucket closer to the road where excavators could load dump trucks or whatever. But it was kind of uncomfortable to sit in an open carriage thing that, yes, it would make it out in the field. So they got the bright idea to put a pickup truck on there. So it had heat, and you could steer it from inside the truck. You could stop it, shift it. Very cumbersome. The lights work, just like some of them. But you could pay a student $5 an hour back 20 years ago to sit there and drive slowly up and down with a cable. And then it had 2 clevises on it, so they put the cable through it, so we would use it as a dead man to move it back and forth and that. So it was a functional piece of equipment. When he lost the contract or finished the contract, they just left it in the swamp that they were working on it and called it quits and walked away. So somebody...
It sat for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then the guy that bought the farm, because they sold it, they have to track down the owner of this tank truck. So you got to get this thing out of here.
But wouldn't you be like, I bought this farm and it's got a freaking tank truck on it? Why would you do it?
I bought the farm for the tank truck. Yeah. I drove by that thing for so many years. I love it. I think his name was Pete or something like that, the old man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you need to get him more celebrity appearances from Pete. He was cracking me up. I love how he's like, nope, started right up. Hadn't had it in years, forgot that I even own this thing. And then he's like, nope, you better bring your batteries. And then boom, starts, he said it started up and then you guys started it up.
Yeah. So Great story. And then, but when we got it, it was wore out. Like like everything's wore out on it. So it could do two things. It could shift from first into reverse, and it could steer, and that was about it. So,
and it could knock down trees.
It could knock down trees. We did one video with it, and we really struggled with that video because it was really kind of boring. It's like a brisk walking pace was the fastest speed, and that was it. So we thought, we got to do some updates to it. So since then, we've put a bigger engine in the back. We pulled the 4-cylinder out, put that in the front. That's will run a hydraulic pump that will just run a winch that we installed on it. In the back is now a 6V71, so about 120 horse more, and it has an automatic transmission on it now rather than a manual pushing the tank transmission. So with the 471, it was very underpowered, so you couldn't. The way he hooked it up was pretty genius. He hooked the clutch from the 471 up to the brake pedal on the truck. So you'd hit the brake and it would disconnect the clutch. You could shift the tank transmission between first and reverse, but there was no linkages to the tank transmission. So it was stuck in third gear, and then you had a choice of either first or reverse. So
on one of the videos, he's trying to put it in forward, and then you kind of helped him. Is that was third gear, but forward or reverse?
That was third gear truck engine, first gear tank transmission, and that's all it was.
Truck transmission, yeah, it's two transmissions, right?
Yeah, the truck transmission was always just stuck in third. It never left third, probably for decades.
So the truck tranny is in third, but the tank transmission had up to 5 speeds.
Yeah, and it was in first.
Out of first or second.
Because it's 5 times
double clutching it to get. I just like how you're saying, quote unquote, up to speed. I just want to know what is actually up to speed.
So Sherman tanks did 28 miles an hour.
Okay, I like how you did the conversion for us Americans. I like that.
Yeah, so 28 miles an hour, but that is in a Sherman with tight road wheels, with like tight tracks and good shape. So generally tracks, from what we were told, they last about 2,000 to 4,000 miles, and then they're toast. Then that's it. So you had to bring a tank to where its final destination, and it had to make it there with under 4,000 miles on it, or it would be toast. After World War II, they used a lot of Shermans and sent them out desert, Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan or whatever, and the sand would chew them up even more. So they were down to like 1,500 miles, and then that's it. So you'd have to drive the tank out there and then bring a spare set of tracks, change the tracks if you wanted to keep going with the tank type of thing, right? So ours has been on there for about 70 years and is not in great shape. Which is also why we didn't put a giant engine in the back either. We figure we'll have some fun with it. We'll work our way up horsepower wise and speed wise. We might not get there right away, but we're going to have some fun with the tank before we blow the tracks off of it, and then end up having to pay 60, 70 grand for a decent set of tracks to keep it moving type of thing, right? So.
Yeah. Would you, I mean, I'm almost thinking when you buy this, right? I mean, that's a great video for the audience. We'll link it up, but I'm thinking he should be paying you guys to take this thing out of there. I mean, the whole time you're looking at it, it's going to start, and then you're looking at the track alone. I love that you're not intimidated by it, or you are intimidated by it, but you're like, this is going to be such a fun project that we're just going to get crazy with it. But I just got to think, you're like, what am I getting into? So the whole point is, you said, hey, one of the, like, you're in the shop, you're like, oh my God, it's such a great day. Look at what I get to work on. Do you still feel that same way about the Shermanator, or you're like, what the hell? Like, God damn it, Aaron, why did we, first of all, Shell, I don't know if we're friends anymore, but we bought this thing for you guys, and did that work out? Because you were going to buy another truck from the guy, and then his uncle has the tank, and you're like, how the hell what's the lineage of 7 ways to Kevin Bacon and how we ended up with a Sherminator? You're like, dude, we met Marty. Marty's uncle's Pete. Marty was going to sell us this truck. The truck we bought was just because of Shell. So it is funny how it all works out. But you've got the tank. You're doing amazing things with it. I mean, yeah. Are you still in love with it?
I'm still in love with it. I don't enjoy working on it as much because it's not very soft. It every single thing you got to climb up. The thing is about, I don't know, 11 feet up to the top. So to climb in and out of the thing, and there's a lot of stuff. I buried a lot of stuff underneath the truck, and it's not easy to get underneath the truck. So I foresaw that, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put the whole truck on hydraulics to lift up. So at least when I'm working on it, I can get the truck up and get into the belly of the thing and work on stuff there. So we had a viewer say, you know what, you should just build a toolbox and leave it in the bottom there, and build another toolbox and put it in the back of the truck. We're doing that because it sucks when you're there. You're like, oh, I need this, and you got to climb all the way back out again, grab it from your toolbox, and climb back in again. And like when you bump your knee into something or you bump your head into it, it hurts. it doesn't give. There's no soft things in this tank, right? So other than that being extremely sore at the end of the week, I love the thing. I love being able to fabricable whatever I want on it with zero expectations too. It's not like the GTO that we built or the F350 where everything has to be like perfect and you're driving this thing somewhere. The nice thing about projects like this, even if it breaks, it makes for a fantastic video. So we still have revenue income coming in, right? If we were building for customer, like, yeah, I'm going to build you this tank. It's going to drive into the bush. It's going to haul all this peat moss for you. You're going to make millions of dollars selling to nurseries, and then it doesn't work. They're pissed off. But the audience is like, oh, like we watched you do this. And that automatic transmission driving that manual transmission seemed like a good idea, but now the transmission grenaded and shattered all over the bottom of the truck. They still watch that, and it's still fun. Right now we're stuck in the middle of a field or a creek or something. Now we got to spend a day with bulldozers getting this thing back out again, and it's all fun. It's great that we're living in a small town too, and pretty well everybody knows who we are now. So if we do get stuck and we do have a problem, we make a couple phone calls, and we have a sponsor with a scrapyard that's got transport trucks and floats and bulldozers. You call them up, hey, like
call every farmer in the perimeter.
But
figure it out.
But at the same time, every one of those farmers has our number. And I told them, like, if you get stuck, call us, because we will come to wherever you are and we will get you unstuck.
Bring the tank. We'll bring the Shermanator.
Yeah.
Big Deboss Garage right on the side. We'll bring it.
Yep. Off-road recovery.
I love that it's blue, and the blue and the yellow go so. It was just like so. Did he ever? Whoever was it? Pete that decided to put the truck on there? Then was that who?
It was his brother-in-law or cousin or something that did it for him.
I'm not completely clear on that.
Yeah, it's still some mixed story.
Old square just sitting there, right? I mean, it's like, oh, there's the old square. Let's throw the old boy up on top of the tank. And little did they know that, you know, they'd be mated that way for what's 20 to 30 years later. And now,
yeah.
When you're looking for classic Chevy or GMC truck parts, brotherstrucks.com is your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration parts. So whether you are restoring an original or looking to customize that classic truck, brotherstrucks.com has thousands of the highest quality truck parts for you to choose from. So head over to brotherstrucks.com and order your free catalog today. And don't forget to follow Brothers on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates and special offers too.
C10 Nation, what's stopping you? Well, CPP has you covered. They offer multiple different options to make the disc brake conversion as easy as possible on both you and your wallet. From stock height conversions to their Big Brake Grand Slam kit. How's your altitude? You need to get a little lower? CPP has you covered there too. They offer a wide variety of drop kits for you to choose from. Guys, head over to classicperform.com. That's classicperform.com to save big today. Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They not only design the products, but also design the tooling to build the products, guaranteeing quality control. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. Aluminum strips are double polished, creating a mirror finish, and crystal clear anodized. They use the highest quality, hand-selected show quality wood that will hold up over time. Why? Because it's kiln dried to precision moisture levels specifically for Marquet. They stock oak, pine, and mini exotics, guaranteeing extremely fast delivery. All parts are manufactured in-house in Oklahoma City, USA. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bed wood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com. Little did they know that, they'd be mated that way for what's 20 to 30 years later. And now,
So the thing is circulated the internet for a while because people, I guess the swamp that it was in, there was enough people walking through that they took pictures of it, and it's been on Instagram and Swamp Finds and C10 clubs and.
Well, they took a mudding, and I guess they got banned from the whole park.
Right.
The tanks just the tracks just destroyed.
No, I think
everything.
They went through the bush and knocked over a bunch of trees. Like that's what the issue was. There's a whole trail going through the trees, and then this thing just makes its own path. You just head straight, close your eyes, and it just knocks everything down. It's amazing how much it knocks over and how effortlessly, right? So it's been circulating around. If we painted it, it would be a different truck. I want people to know that we took it as somebody else's project.
It still lives.
And it still lives. We revived it and made it functional and better. So we've made it so we can shift the tank transmission with hydraulics inside the cab. So it's a two big giant handles. It's hard to explain over if you're not seeing it, but I just hooked two hydraulic cylinders up to each other. And so when one cylinder goes in, the other one goes out. So I put those on two handles in the cab. So the cylinders are underneath the cab. And then that essentially runs your H pattern. So I put the two cylinders on the tank transmission lever perpendicular to each other. So one makes the lever go forward and back, and one makes the lever go side to side. So now I can still tilt the truck up without unhooking anything, and I can shift all 5 gears plus reverse on the tank transmission, which is like 5 feet below me and 4 feet in front of me with this with the hydraulic cylinders. But I can't see what I'm doing, so we just put a double DIN stereo there and put the backup camera on the tank transmission, so I can just flick the reverse on. Or toggle switch on the camera, and I haven't done it yet, but I'll probably put some markers over top, so when the camera angle goes down and you're lined up, I can still shift every one of the I can still shift the tank transmission from inside the cab where I've got heat, wipers, lights, and I put some nice comfy GM seats in there, fixed the floor, and now it's a nice driving experience. Right before, it was really hard to shift it in and out. It was really cumbersome to turn the thing. So, and the steering is actually really genius. So that's the one thing that I left alone, is that they took the pitman arm off the steering box and swung it in between the two handles that steer the tank. So Shermans don't do 360s. Basically it's an open diff in the front, and then each lever is connected to a brake band that goes around the final drive. So when you turn, you pull on one lever and it puts the brake on one side and you turn in that direction. So with two chains, he's hooked the pitman arm up to the two levers that activate the brake. So when you crank the steering wheel one way, the chain goes slack on the one lever and goes tight on the other, and you turn that way. When you crank the steering wheel the other way, the opposite happens, and you turn that direction. So very, very simple. It took I imagine two guys staring at it, drinking 3 beers each, and like, yo, I got it. And then 20 minutes later, and they've got a working steering box. So you can steer this from the steering wheel inside the cab on the tank stuff. So now I've hooked the automatic transmission with cables up to the column shifter. So now you can shift it just like a normal pickup, reverse, neutral, and drive from the steering column. We've got push button engine starts. Like this thing, it's just like, that's the imagination part where I'm like, I'm gonna build it kind of like a cockpit, but it's still functional. And I'm taking the master cylinder on the brakes. I put a big caliper off a truck on the drive shaft, and then I've got 2 slave cylinders pushing underneath the levers that activate the brake bands on the outside. So now when you push on the brake, those slave cylinders push up on the levers, both chains go slack. You've got the brakes on the final drives, and you've got a brake on the drive shaft. So now we've got a tank that does 28 mile an hour when it weighed 30 ton, 60,000 pounds, probably weighs 20,000 pounds now. So probably about a third of it. And it's got better brakes, bigger engine, and has a truck on top. So it should be faster, should stop way quicker. Now it steers and it has a radio that you can't hear because there's 2 two-stroke Detroits running it with no mufflers.
Because you're using the double din for the camera, maybe not necessarily for the radio, but a nice boom box would be pretty cool. So when he talks about these levers, right? This is like angle iron that somebody put on there. So you guys got to check it out. I mean, the chain, you know, I think old man Pete's steering it at one point. You can see the chains. Aaron and his boys probably got, you know, some of the Dumaflachis going back and forth. Your hydraulic thing, that was one of those rich moments where I was like, okay, I got to really, like, I need a piece of paper and pencil to draw this out, because when you had the way you did it, it was like one was pushing against another one. And if I'm getting that right on the H pattern, it was very complex, but then you had the truck up and you were kind of going through the motions and you could see it. But I was like, oh, is that going to bend it? I don't know if it, because of the way that whole thing was kind of articulating and you were making it look easy, but I was like, oh my God, this is pretty in depth. So you guys, for the audience, you just got to check it out. So where are we at on it? What's next?
So we, I know this is dating this podcast, but we do have a war going on in Ukraine right now. And when the war first broke out 3 weeks ago, we just decided to just stop the videos just temporarily. Didn't think it was right that, we're goofing off with some tanks and having some fun with this when people are getting displaced out of their homes and stuff, and tanks are running through their front yard. And we did that just because I'm an emotional guy, goes up and down, whatever. But things are actually looking pretty good. Before, about 3 weeks ago, we were the only ones that really had a tank, but there's a lot of Ukrainian farmers that now are in possession of Russian tanks, and they really need some motivation on what you should really do with a tank. Don't blow shit up, just have some fun with it and knock over some trees and stuff. So I'm still working on it.
We'll do some farming with it.
Yeah.
Is I reposted it on C10 Nation, and I think people were pretty fired up about it, and I didn't really think about it from a negative perspective. Obviously, you guys are cognizant of it, thinking, hey, we got to be careful here, the world that we live in, and unfortunate for what's going on. But I think some of the people were like, dude, send that thing over there, right? And it was kind of
it's not a tank.
No, I know.
You could literally kill me with a 22 through this glass window. and that's it, right?
We thought it was bulletproof glass. Everybody, bulletproof. You don't know what happens in Canada. We don't know what happens, but you look at it and it is like just the colors alone obviously are like this big Ukraine flag. So people were posting that. They're like, okay. But I understand you being it's like, all right, that's all cool on social media, but for you guys to think, hey, we should probably slow down a little bit.
It's one of those things, right? It's like I don't know if the U.S. was to come in Canada and say, you guys should be part of the U.S. right now, and you drive a bunch of tanks through our neighborhood, right? And jobs don't matter. All that matters is surviving, and we're hiding out in subway tunnels right now, watching YouTube, because what else do you do when you got nothing else to do? and you're watching somebody in Russia or Ukraine having fun with tanks and giggling like little school kids driving over trees and whatever. It just kind of, I don't know, we didn't feel it was the right time, but you know, things are looking, oh, not, I don't know, I don't even know what to say. Like, it's looking okay there. The Russians are really making a mess of the invasion. So Ukrainians are holding their own. And now it's almost like, now it's motivation. Like, yeah, boys, like do it. And you can end up with a tank, and then you can use it to plow your fields and knock over trees and have some fun with it, right? Melt it down, and there's a lot of scrap money. Scraps through the roof right now, right? So,
yeah.
So we're still releasing the videos. We're still working on it, so it's pretty well done. I moved it out. It's running, driving, moving. Lots of little things to finish up on it yet. We pulled the cab over in, which is what we're using to pull it around. If you are in Canada, April 29th, it's going to be at Motorama, which is Canada's biggest indoor car show. So it's going to be on the trailer behind the cab over, which is why I'm pushing hard to get everything done. And then it's going to be at a pile of shows this summer. We'll probably end up taking it down to Cletus at some point. He's got a bunch of truck pulls and stuff. So I think if we put both transmissions in reverse, we'll have forward again with like a 10-to-1 ratio. So I'll be able to get out and, you know, eat a bag of chips while it drags whatever truck it's hooked up to in the right direction. But it's also going to be at Aquino, which is a giant military show in Canada on June 5th, I believe, or June 7th. So the
April 29th, the Motorama, where's that at?
So that's at the International Center in Toronto or Mississauga. And then the Aquino is in Oshawa. So that's the Regiment Museum in Canada. They have 140 tanks, 100 of them are running. So we'll be crushing some cars and stuff there. It's going to go to a bunch of local fairs around the area. If we can drive it within driving distance and make it there and our schedule allows, it'll be there. And then we're making a pile of videos on just having fun with it. So we've got a bunch of cars lined up at the scrapyard. We'll be crushing those. And then we'll start working up some fields, and hopefully some farmers get stuck with some equipment and we can start pulling them out in the spring as well. So,
did you ever think like that it would even lead to this? I mean, were you even thinking about it, or you're just like, this is something so cool, we got to buy it and then we'll figure it out as we go? Because I'm thinking, what the hell do with it? But now it's like, dude, you're going on the world tour. I mean, I love it.
So we make the video on buying it, and the Regiment Museum was funny. And the Regiment Museum calls us and they're like, hey, that's a cool tank. We were going to write you off, but then we saw how the steering worked, and it's really kind of cool. If you guys want, you guys can come down to the museum and we'll show you how the real Shermans worked, and you can get some ideas off of that, right? We're like, yeah, we're down for that. Like, okay, well, what date? So we give them a date, what works. And then they said, well, how many? Okay, awesome. So the date gets closer, and like, well, how many people are coming? And we're like, well, like, does it matter? Like, I want to invite my dad, my brother, and all our friends. It's like, we're gonna drive tanks, like real tanks, not our joke, right? So like, yeah, I guess the more the merrier. So they saw the British Columbia license plates on the tank, which is where it came from. So they thought we were all from British Columbia. So I told them there was 14 people coming, and they thought we're all flying from 3,000 miles away to come drive their tank. So the whole day was catered. Like, we were these celebrities that were able to fly out just for this day, right? Meanwhile, they're an hour and a half drive away from us. So we start rolling in carload after carload, and my one buddy's got a rusted old pickup truck with holes in it. So he's the first one there. Like, yeah, we're from Deboss.
Yeah. They look at that plate. For the audience, if you don't know Canada geographically, Vancouver is California, Oregon, all the way West Coast. These guys are Pittsburgh, PA, New York, Buffalo. So, yeah, that's even better. I got a feeling they're like, hey, you guys aren't from Vancouver, right?
No, they're like, where'd you get that rental? It's got holes in it, and it's like 12 years old. And they're like, no, we're from an hour and a half away. They're like, oh, son of a bitch.
Now, it's perfect.
But it was an incredible day. Got a full tour of it, of all the museum, or of all the tanks. And then they let us drive the tank. So, and they said, like, you know how much it costs to drive one of these tanks? Because like a Sherman, they were valued here at $1.5 million or something like that. So you know what it costs to drive a tank? There's a place in Vegas that lets you do it. It's like $4,000 or something like that to go out for a half hour and shoot one shell or whatever. We're like, well, like it was like a couple grand. Anyway, he's like, no, there is no price. Nobody's ever driven our tanks except for like licensed people in the museum that are like reputable. And here they let two hicks from Dunville, small little town, drive their tanks because, you know, we bought this thing on a whim and whatever. So since then I've helped pull an engine out of a Chieftain. We've gone that back a couple times. And in the video that you know, Pete says that he's got a gearbox that connects two straight sixes to one drive shaft, and that's what would have came out of the tank. So he mentioned that. So that day they came up to me like, we really want that gearbox. Those are super rare. So it's like, if there's anything you can do to get that gearbox, like we'd be really, really thankful. So I went back to Pete. We had to buy a couple pieces off of him to get our setup working because he's got tons of two strokes. I went back to him like, look, like we've got $1,000 for this gearbox. I don't know what you're doing with it. I don't mean to insult you if it's worth you more or whatever, but I got $1,000. He's like, I don't think I want to sell it. I don't want to sell it. It's too valuable. So then we get our parts. We have coffee upstairs in his shop. His wife is there. And I'm like, so that's when I told him the price. I'm like, look, I got $1,000 cash with me right now. I'll pay for it. We'll come grab it later. But she's like, what's this gearbox? He's like, honey, none of your business. She's like, well, what are you going to do with it? He goes, it's not the point. She goes, why don't you just sell it? So I don't say anything. We finish coffee. He comes down. He walks straight over to the gearbox, and there's still two-stroke Detroits attached to it too. And that's a big deal because one spins clockwise and one spins counterclockwise. So then he goes, if I don't sell this to you, my wife won't stop nagging me for the next 4 months. So he goes, just take the stupid thing before I change my mind. So we picked up I told the boys at the museum I had the gearbox for them. So they're ecstatic. And then I show up with it, and there's two engines attached to it too yet. So they're over the moon. And they're like, whatever tank you want to drive, you just let us know. We'll put you in the driver's seat, and you can drive whatever one you want. So it's one opportunity that just kind of leads to the next with no actual plan, or we've got our year mapped out as to which show we're going, where we're going, what we're doing. But as to like what we're doing next or what's after this or whatever, we have no idea. So we got the transport truck. We just got it back from paint. Like, it looks amazing. I'm doing a final assembly on that right now. And then with Shell Oil again, they have the super rigs somewhere. So we told them, oh, by the way, that junk truck that we made our first video on, we actually have a really nice one now. And if you want us to go to the super rigs, we're happy to do that too. And if you want, we can pull a trailer with a giant tank on it too. It's whatever you want. So it's just the opportunities with the social media and the online community is just awesome. Like it brings everybody that's like-minded together. And even if you've never met, it's like all of a sudden you're best friends because you have something in common. You feel like you already know the person, and it's just been a really, really cool ride.
Oh my God. Is Shell behind the Shermanator? I mean, hell, at this point, it's the Shell Shermanator. I know it's the Deboss Garage. The rate you guys are doing from the influencer perspective, that, and then when you said the Vegas, you said, hey, you could go out, drive a tank and shoot it. I thought, well, hell, you could do a nice exchange with the transmission or the gearbox and be like, hey, well, we got you the gearbox. Now we need to be able to shoot one of these tanks. Yeah. Want the gearbox that bad, all right? Yeah. So weeks later, change your mind. You can come shoot the damn tank.
Yeah. It's funny. So we can't shoot live rounds. We can shoot blanks though. But they are right in the middle of Oshawa, which is a decent city. I don't know how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people live there. But basically, this museum started first, and they built the city around it. There's an airport right beside it. So it's not a pile of room. But they're like, yeah, if you would have told us earlier that you were coming, we could have let all the neighbors know that we're going to shoot a bunch of tanks, and you could have shot a tank too.
What? For real?
Yeah, for real. And it's a blank, but you get to like load the shell, close the hatch, push the button, say the
You're in the tank again, Marty. When I was a kid, I don't know for you guys in Canada, but we used to get a lot of sonic booms. You guys ever have those?
Right. No.
Chuck Yeager goes flying by and they would break the sound barrier. And as a kid, now this is in Montana. I grew up in Montana, but they would do it all the time. It was just a normal thing. In the summer, you'd be out screwing around and boom, and you'd shit your pants. So I got a feeling that the tank city is just like all the kids are calling it like, ah, Marty's just lighting up the tank again. He got a heater. The boss guy are over there freaking light. Oh my God, that's cool. What an experience. How do you guys, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. It's 3 hours later there. Oh yeah, by the way, I have a really big written here. I love the roll bar. Thank you for adding the roll bar. Look, it takes the Shermanator to 1904. It looks like Randy Macho Man Savage is going to jump out of it, right? So no, you would think, how does no roll bar not make it Randy Savage or Macho Man Savage, Hogan or whatever, right? But then once you put the roll bar on something, I'm like, oh God, that's so legendary because it's not going to stop anything. But no, they found a 3 tubular bar. I mean, what? Give me the story on that. Where'd you find that thing?
So we have an auto recycler that sponsors us, a good friend of mine, and actually I'm building a C10 with him too. The 64. Have you seen that one on the channel? Yeah. So he's got, when we got it, the seat was completely destroyed by raccoons, so it was soaking wet. So I thought, we're just going to grab another bench seat. His didn't even have a rip in it, and whatever random parts that we could salvage from that truck, we could use in ours, right? So, yeah, sure. It's been here forever. I hate crushing it. And he goes, there's not much left on it, but go nuts, right? So it's got a big fiberglass cap on the back. So we're just crawling over the thing. I'm like, oh, the grill's mint and the lights are mint, and the dash pad is way better shape than ours, and the steering wheel's in good shape, and the seat's in good shape. I'm gonna do all this, and then the owner, Andrew Rose, good buddy of mine, he walks in the back. He's like, Rich, check this out. He opens the cap, and the cap is over top of the roll bar. I'm like, no way. It's like, I need to have this. He's like, yeah, man, go ahead. And so he's like, I want you to be protected in case you roll the tank too, right? So
insurance policy alone on that robot.
Yeah.
If it was a double, maybe not, but it's a triple.
It's a triple. And it's all rusted through. It's got perfect patina. We wanted to put the KC lights on it. Those lights are friggin' expensive. Like $250 a light. And I know they're all just going to get knocked off by trees. So we're like, and if we put lights on it, we're over height too. Right now on the trailer, we are at like max height. So actually the roll bar is like an inch taller than the cab too yet. So I think the hydro wires are going to fling over the roll bar. So we got to be careful with that. But no KC lights, unfortunately, unless we get a sponsorship. We got a bunch of light bars we put on it.
I got to think you're not going to have a problem getting sponsored. Whatever lights you guys want on the world tour that's coming up in 2020. Yeah. That's all right, how do you guys find balance, right? That's one of the biggest things. You're having this fun, creative channel. You never even imagined you'd be where you're at today. I know it's a big honor for you to be on C10 Talk. I know it's just
that was our goal like 5 years ago. Like, we keep buying C10s until we make it on the podcast.
How many C10s do you have to buy?
Just a tank, I guess. But so how do you find the balance? I mean, family life, projects, and the creativity. And then when you guys, like, for example, one of the videos, you're just like almost doing like it really like almost an emotional 360 where you're like, I'm living my best life right now. I'm getting to work on this. I could have ended up at, the Caterpillar, the International Harvester, just punching a clock, and the two of you found each other and you're living your best life, having a great time doing it. How do you find that balance?
Well, I don't know. You got to make sure you're doing family stuff, and you kind of have a certain amount of opportunities, you also have a certain amount of luxuries. Like I work from home, we both work from home, and you know, you just gotta be flexible with that, and you know, don't I don't know. You hear work-life balance is a myth and all of that too. So just you just gotta make it work. And
it helps that there's two of us. If you're making the videos and then editing them at night, I've seen a couple channels do that, and it works. It brings in a good income. Like, so we're splitting the income, but we're totally okay with that. I would rather have less income and more flexibility that way than the other way around, right? So we do have rules or guidelines. Basically, between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock, we don't talk, we don't do whatever. We're not accessible, because that's after work, supper time, put the kids to bed. So Aaron's got 3 young girls, I've got 2 young girls, and they grow up way too fast. So I'm able to put the girls on the bus in the morning, make them breakfast, and do my thing. 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we do whatever, board games or summer, we go for walks or whatever. That's definitely family time. And then do our best. So I usually go back in the shop quite a few nights a week, especially with the show going on now. I'm working a lot, but then it pays off afterwards too. I get to pick up my kids from school and odd cars and trucks and stuff, so that they see that they know that something special is going on too. Driving in like the GTO and stuff, they're like, there's no other car like this on the road type of thing. So that's special. And then there's a couple trips too. COVID was great because it slowed life down a lot. It took it back a notch. 2019 I traveled more in my life than I did like my entire life put together, almost. Like, and it was a Milwaukee trade show. It was this trade show, Craftsman and Holly and whatnot. And I enjoyed it. And at first you're like, oh, this is a real privilege to go. And we're getting like nice meals and whatever, nice hotels. But then it gets old fast. So we were able to do a couple trips with our families, with our wives and stuff. I just found it where we had a show in Orange County, a conference that we had to go to. So we flew to San Francisco first with the family, drove down, had a nice relaxing holiday, and then the girls went home. They got to travel home together, the wives, and then we had our meeting and we followed them 3 days later type of thing. So we want to keep doing trips like that. Our girls are still pretty young, so that makes it difficult, but that'll open up more opportunities later. There's some stuff that they would really enjoy, and other times there's stuff that really they would hate too. Like we drove the Bronco home from Oregon, and it broke down a bunch of times, and that's fun for us. I really don't care. I'll change a fuel tank in a parking lot, and that's not a big deal. But in all honesty, like our wives would not enjoy sitting on a cooler watching me get covered in gas and then hop back into the vehicle and drive another 6 hours like that, right? So everybody stinks and whatever. So it's picking our battles that way. But we bought a couple more trucks out your way. We're grabbing those this summer. So we're planning the trips. Hopefully our wives can come. We can do a little bit of shooting. We'll rent an Airbnb by the ocean, have a relaxing time, and then do a little bit of work. And either they fly home and we really cram and get a pile of work done, or make it work somehow, right? But at the same time, our families aren't going to be on the camera either. We don't. It's a car show. It doesn't have to be about family and is their wife hot or not or whatever. Seen too many channels that the comments get to you. So we filmed some videos with my wife, and then I don't know what happened, but we both agreed, no, we're not doing any of that. So yeah.
Yeah, the comments, I could only imagine. And you almost have to, as a creator, just be like, I'm not going to look into this stuff and deal with this. We're going to keep plowing forward. And moving that direction and having fun and raising kids and finding that work-life balance, even though it is somewhat of a myth. It is funny you say 2019 was one of the, it was so much fun, but then you start to realize like how much fun you were able to have in the COVID time because the world slowed down.
Yeah.
And I felt that way at times too. It's like, man, this is nice. Like I'm not running so ragged that I can actually enjoy some of these things. My kids are older, and what you'll find out when the kids get older and the sports and the different activities, then it becomes even harder, which is crazy. Like, how could it be any harder? But it becomes even harder. And our audience knows, right? We have a pretty diverse group of people out there, and they also know having a wife with a broke down truck sitting by the side, on the side of the road and going to a truck show or whatever. We've all kind of lived that. So kudos, my hat's off to you guys for doing that, and your wives for putting up with your shit for sure. But yeah,
she's pretty well safe. Yeah, it's like I told her that I was buying another truck. She's like, oh, whatever. And then the tank rolled in right on the back of the transfer truck.
Think about that. What did you say? What did she? Well, give me the first sentence that I. Let's make it good for her though, right? Like
yeah. No, she said you said you were buying a truck, and I said it is a truck. Look,
then you were buying a tank. Oh my God!
But at the same time, she knows that's what brings in the income too, right? So
she knew who she was getting in.
100%.
I always say that. I'm like, listen, they knew who they were locking it down with for sure. So no surprises on that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, you guys, you can check it out. Go to their YouTube, Deboss, Deboss Garage, YouTube, social media. I think, Aaron, you said you do a lot of the social. How do you find balance with that?
Yeah, well, you just got to, like I don't work like the same amount every single day, right? So posting on Instagram isn't really that much, but then I also have 2 editors that work for me part-time, so they'll get things 70-80% of the way, and then I'll come in and finish up every video. So that's helped me out quite a lot, just with the amount of we're up to 900 videos now.
Yeah,
we've got 2 channels at this point, so I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this, especially 40-minute videos every week, if I didn't have some help at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right, guys. Well, we'll let you go. We appreciate your time. You probably could be, working in the garage or editing right now. So we do appreciate that. And I can't wait. I hope if that tank is close to Arizona, Phoenix, or wherever I'm at.
It's the eastern kind of side this year. We'll see what happens. We'll be on the west side. We did buy a 55 Apache and a 95 GMT 400 out west. So we're gonna swap an engine into the 55, drive it home, use the 95 as kind of a escort vehicle and a tow rig in case we need to. So hopefully that'll be at LS Fest next spring. We'll probably keep it in this We'll be building it this fall. We'll probably keep the truck there over the winter and then drive it home next spring. But I don't know. It's not easy to drive the transfer truck and the tank. It's also 10 feet wide.
Rich has to get his driver's license first.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to school in May to get my CDL so I can actually drive my truck and the tank. But we really got to be careful too because it's 10 feet wide. So I think we're oversized load. So we might have like a buy. Generally, so far, telling everybody that we're YouTube kind of gets us out of the situation. But I think we need like special permits to even drive this thing down the road. So
Yeah, wide load coming at you. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Stay on the line. We appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys like that one. A little different. A tank. Yeah, a Squarebody tank. I look forward to seeing this thing in person someday. It sounds humongous. It sounds heavy and hard. Just like Rich said, it's not fun to work on because it's just so massive. But get out there, support those guys. If they're in your neck of the woods, let them know you heard about them on C10 Talk and you enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you did. I had a really good time. So thank you, Rich and Aaron, for taking time to sit down with the C10 Nation and C10 Talk and sharing your story. For you guys, if you don't follow them on YouTube, please jump on over there, both the YouTube and the social media, the Facebook, the Instagram, and all the different outlets that those guys have, and check it out. Check out some of their videos. They've got a lot of really cool stuff. They're always working on cool stuff, so I think you guys will enjoy it. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Have a great week. Stay out of trouble. Do what you do. And please take the time to share the pod, like it, love it, and leave us a review. Peace.
That's all, folks.